Welcome to Brain Snacks, bite-sized learning moments from We Are Human Leaders. In today's Brain Snack, author and disruption expert Terence Mauri shares with Alexis and Sally his take on how leaders need to be framing disruption to harness change and remain relevant. He shares with us the risks of doing nothing in a rapidly changing world and how AI is as much about people as it is technology. For more, check out the full conversation, How to Befriend Uncertainty with Terence Mauri at the link in our show notes. For now, enjoy.
One of the biggest risks right now is thinking too small. And we have this convergence of AI and talent and geopolitical super cycles that's creating tremendous risk, but also tremendous opportunity. And one of the big challenges for a successful leader or a successful team or a successful company is to stick to what you know longer than its expiry date. And we have what I call this half-life of everything. So half-life of skills used to be 7 years. Now it's 5 years, going to 2 years. Half-life of a CEO role from 6 years to 3 years. We also have half-life of assumptions, half-life of attitudes, half-life of operating mindsets. It's something that we don't talk about enough. It's a collective blind spot in most organizations.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this? Because I think it's a really important point, Terence, that we're sort of trying to put or apply these old frameworks that we have to thinking about duration of terms and how long things should last and how things should look, absolutely to our detriment. How can leaders sort of start to change the lens on that and lean into that sort of half-life mentality?
I love your question because everywhere I go in the world, companies are drowning in bureaucracy, drowning in hierarchy, drowning in transactional work rather than intelligent work. And the data supports this. At Hat Future Lab, 1 in 3 meetings is considered a complete waste of time. That's costing a company with over 1,000 people over $20 million a year in lost productivity, lost energy, lost opportunity, and lost talent. Out of 2,100 hours a year, the average number of hours we work, 700 hours is wasted on excess bureaucracy or bad bureaucracy. And there's a difference between bad bureaucracy and good bureaucracy. Bad bureaucracy means lots of manual processes that should be automated. Bad bureaucracy means a best practice that's become a broken practice. Bad bureaucracy means, duplicative structures or ways of working that have gone off like yogurt in the fridge, but we still do them. And most organizations, around 30, 40% of what they're doing is still holding on to old ways of thinking, old ways of working. And there's some financial impact on this as well. Bad bureaucracy, old ways of working, old ways of thinking is costing global enterprises over $17 trillion in lost productivity over the next 5 years. So this is, it's a massive existential challenge for many organizations. And the simple truth is, a simple kind of takeaway for everyone to think about, so it's very visceral and personal, is to take stock of your month, take stock of your week, and go Marie Kondo. Look back at your month and say, okay, what do I need to detox? What do I need to delete? What do I need to declutter? I think subtraction, elimination, unlearning are some of the finest forms of leadership right now, but we don't do them. We're addicted to complexity. We're addicted to bureaucracy. We're addicted to making things more difficult.
I love it so much, and I think we will unpack some of that unlearning very shortly, Terence. What I'd love to explore is, you referred to earlier this kind of like fine line between risk and innovation and opportunity almost. It's sort of a matter of perspective, if you will, as to how we view these sort of big, significant changes and what they represent for us as individuals as well as organizations. So how is the fact that nobody knows what's going to happen a good thing?
Another great question, because we've never known what's going to happen. And sometimes that becomes a barrier or an obstacle to taking a trust leap or a courage leap into the future. One of the best ways to reduce uncertainty, to reduce unknown, is taking risks, is testing hypotheses, is running experiments. For example, a simple call to action for everybody watching today would be, over the next 30 days, what's one simple experiment we could do to start using AI in a very intentional and deliberate and contextual way for our teams? And so I think risk and reward always come wrapped together. They always travel in the elevator together, risk and reward. And I think one of the truisms of our times is that we always overestimate the risk of doing something new or trying something new. And we always underestimate the risk of standing still. And right now, even for you to stand still, everything must change just because of the laws of atrophy, the laws of physics. So I think it's an exciting time. Is it a scary time? Yes, it is. Is it an exciting time? Yes, it is. Now it's a full-time, sort of full contact. Leadership is a full contact sport right now. And I would say to everybody out there, do faster than doubt.
Terence, something you also mentioned earlier is that disruption's often linked to technology and technological change. Now, in your new book, The Upside of Disruption, which is incredible, by the way, you say that disruption is a radically human approach. You said in your book, the more digital we become, the more human we need to be. What makes it radically human, and why is the radically human approach so necessary right now?
What concerns me right now, and I'm pro technology, by the way. I'm a pro technology, pro future, and there's some incredible upsides to technology. There always has been, but we don't talk enough about the risks and the downsides. And some of the emerging research coming out. There was an MIT study released a couple of weeks ago. For example, looking at brain scans of those who are using chatbots extensively. And there's a risk that they'll outsource some of the risks that we are in the experiment. We are in the Petri dish, by the way. And I think one of the sort of risks that needs further investigation is this idea that are we outsourcing our thinking? I mean, I see it myself that it's very tempting when I'm writing a chapter or an article. I can just go to deep search and say, okay, can you do that? It's very tempting to start doing that, but I've always held back. And I think using it as a co-thinker is more tricky than, we claim. It's very tempting just to start outsourcing everything. And then that's one risk. Another risk is that I call it the sea of sameness. The sea of sameness. If we've all got access to AI, we've all got access to the same subscriptions, the same data, the same tools. Well, how do you differentiate yourself? How are you going to stand out in a meeting, stand out in a presentation when everybody, you're seeing it on LinkedIn. I'm using LinkedIn less and less. Everyone's using, you can see it's all scripted now. It's all scripted, the uniqueness, the personality, it's become very diluted where you're losing that humanness. And so sea of sameness, curse of sameness is a real challenge at an enterprise level, by the way, at an individual level. I think outsourcing our thinking, atrophy. The psychotherapist Esther Perel talks about the risk of artificial idiocy, artificial ignorance. So I think these are some of the risks that we have to be cautious of and to really start testing this. And so my point is, this is a moment, this is not just a technology story. Ironically, paradoxically, to harness the full potential of AI, it's also a human story. And that's the blind spot for most organizations right now, that they're just using AI to cut costs. It's like corporate Ozempic. We take Ozempic or Wegovy to lose weight. Companies and CEOs are really attracted to AI to lose corporate weight, as in shedding labor force. That's very small thinking. And actually, most of the problems, culture, process, politics, people, are not going to go away.
We hope you enjoyed this brain snack from We Are Human Leaders with Alexis and Sally. To learn more about this topic, check out the full conversation at the link in our show notes. And to learn more about human leaders, find us at www.wearehumanleaders.com.